Hey everyone, Coach Marty here, bringing you another episode. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about cold plunging and my 30-day, everyday experience doing a cold plunge. I'm going to talk to you kind of about how I got into it and the benefits, and if something that might be interest you to get started with. um, but first off, what is cold plunging? So, cold plunging is kind of what it sounds like. You are literally getting in cold water. That could be a cold shower. Technically, actually, I should say that's more cold therapy. I would consider cold plunge you actually getting in water that is cold. So people literally make ice baths. That would be considered a cold plunge. It could just be cold water that's used as like a chiller to keep the water at the certain temperature, that kind of thing. You also have, obviously, you can go to like a body of water. You can go to a cold lake or, anything. Obviously, those are a little bit more dangerous if, depending on where you're at and how you do it. I've never done that before, but obviously use precaution if you're going to go that route. But the reason I got into cold plunging is it's definitely become somewhat of a fad, especially these last couple of years. And so it's definitely been uh, on the scene a little bit more, you could say. There's different companies, lots of different companies that are coming out with these cold plunges. Whereas prior to that, there was really just ice baths or you getting into cold water. Um, but now these companies are coming out with these different plunges. Some look like bathtubs, some look like barrels, some have these chillers that attach to them that clean, filter, and chill and or heat the water. So definitely some cool things. Some are portable, so they like are inflatable. Some you can pack in a little book bag, and some are straight up like a big tub that you cannot move unless you had some serious help. And it's a process. But anyways, that's kind of the general idea of cold plunging. Obviously, the reason you cold plunge is there's many health benefits that have been shown, and we can talk about a few of those. So the first thing is the physical benefits. So just to list off a few, it's going to increase your circulation. The reason it does that is because when you get in cold water, your body is going into that somewhat of shock, and it is going into that flight or fight or flight mode, and your blood is actually rushing to your internal organs and your brain and things like that. And so when you get out, it does the exact opposite. So you're getting that like flush of blood throughout your body. Boosted metabolism. Obviously, this is a stressor on your body. So that's one reason, as well as when you get out and that blood is pumping, all doing all that stuff, and then your body's trying to warm itself back up. So your metabolism is then going to increase. Inflammation reduction. So obviously this is going side by side with circulation. If you're constantly getting circulation, it's going to help flush out a lot of that inflammation as well. And then immune system strengthening. Again, kind of going along those lines, I believe it kind of flushes out your lymph nodes and things like that. Don't quote me on that. I'm not an expert, but it's supposed to help your immunity as well. Then there's the mental benefits. So the mental side is obviously when you're getting into cold water, it's not pleasant at all, right? It's very cold. You want to get out immediately. It's a shock to the body. So having the mental resilience to actually stay in that cold water for however long you're planning on takes a ton of mental grit, right? Especially when you're doing it on a daily basis. Like I was doing it for 30 plus days. I think I'm at like 39 days to be official. But it's definitely one of the harder mental things to do. But because you're doing it over and over and over again, you are increasing that grit. You're increasing that mental strength by being able to stick to the time that your goal was to stay in that thing, um, and kind of push through being uncomfortable, right? Um, because the next point is increased mental alertness and clarity. Because you get that massive blood rush to your organs and your brain, it definitely gives you the like much more alertness. Obviously, you just went through that flight or fight mode, right? And you just got a ton of blood rushing to the brain, to the organs, things like that. So it's definitely going to wake you up, and it's going to make you more clear and increase that cognitive function. And then stress and anxiety reduction. Obviously, this is something that is on a case by case basis. Like, it's hard to kind of test this, in my opinion, but I would say you feel amazing when you get out, because you get this endorphin rush, right? So it's increasing your mood. You get this like almost like a mini high, similar to like a runner's high. You just get this endorphin rush. You feel good. You feel the blood flowing through your body. So it kind of puts you in a better mood, right? So I can see how that could help stress and anxiety. So overall, my experience, right? So first of all, the way I started this, first off, is with cold showers, because the challenging part about cold plunging is if you do not have a chiller or a lake in your backyard or something like that, um, it is hard to do cold plunging, because in order to get the water cold enough, you have to buy ice, and then you have to have a significant way of like putting a large mass of water in an object. And even something like most bathtubs isn't big enough, because it's only going to get your lower body. um, which obviously there's still some health benefits to doing that. But then you have to drain it every time. You have to buy more ice, and obviously that adds up over time. And I think this is something that's really beneficial to do consistently. Obviously, if you did a really hard workout and you just want to get the recovery benefits from it, yes, you could do it once in a blue moon, that kind of thing. But I think overall, to get these benefits is to do it consistently, which makes it difficult. So the only option I really had was cold shower. I started this in the winter time, so the water is actually a little colder because the pipes are colder, but it's still only maybe getting 55, 60-degree water in the winter time. And I noticed in the summertime, I measured the temperature, and it was like maybe just below 70 degrees when it was cold. But anyways, the cold showers are very challenging in their own way, because it's almost like, when you get in a plunge, you just get in, rip the band-aid off, and you're in, and then you just kind of hold it. Whereas when you're getting slowly dripped um, with cold water, I think it's almost like you wish you just could it's like ripping a band-aid off slowly in a way. But obviously you get that mental resilience if you're doing it that way. So anyways, I was doing that for a while, and the way that I would do it, I actually started by just taking a normal shower, and then I would just flip it the cold as I could before I got out. And when I first started, I could barely make it 10 seconds. But then I increased it to 15, and then I increased it to 20, and then 30. And once you get to about 30 seconds, it starts to become easier. I think it's because your body's starting to adapt to the cold, and you're starting to get a little numb. And so it's not that initial shock isn't as bad. So then after that, you start to do it for 3 to 5 minutes. And I did it basically as often as I could. So pretty much every time I showered, not every time, but every time I showered, I would turn it. And what I would typically do is actually play music in the shower, and I would pick a song that was like 3 to 5 minutes long, or a couple of songs that was 3 to 5 minutes. And when that song came on, I would flip it to cold, and then I would ride out the whole song. That way I knew I was being in there for a certain amount of time. I'd also count in my head, but obviously, that could be inaccurate, but it kind of helped you like mentally get through, I think. So that's how I got started with it. And then I was like, okay, I think I want to invest or build my own cold plunge. And all these new companies were coming out, and I went with a brand called Ice Up Industries. They make these like inflatable ones. I've seen um, several other plunge companies that basically have the same thing. It's just like a different brand, so they must make it overseas or something like that. But I think they all make their own chillers. Anyways, this one came with a chiller as well that does hot and cold, so I can get it as hot as like a hot tub would be, like 101 to 104 if you wanted to get it that hot. And then it goes as low as 37 degrees, and it also cools it, cleans it, filters it, all that kind of stuff. So the other cool thing is it pumps the water, so the water's constantly moving, which adds another effect to the plunge. Anyways, when I ordered this thing, it took forever. It took like 15 weeks for it to actually ship. It was a new company, et cetera, et cetera. But then I finally got it. and it ships separately from the chiller. So I really had the experience of just using ice and excuse me. And ice adds up. Let me tell you that it is expensive if you're trying to do it every day. So the first 10 days I was getting ice and I really could only get the water. The coldest I got it with ice, and it was a lot of ice, was like 50 degrees. And most of the time, because I wasn't um, getting ice like often enough, the water was usually around 55 to 60, closer to 60 most of the time. So the very first time I got in it, it was 60 degrees. And I'm thinking, oh, these things are supposed to go down to like 37. Like this should be no problem. First time I got in 60 degrees, it was cold. Like I'll tell you what, it was cold. So, um, 60 degrees is a great place to start if you guys are ever trying this on your own. I would measure the temperature of the water just to give you an idea of what is comfortable for you. And then I would stay in there anywhere from 4 to 10 minutes, depending on how cold it really felt for me. Once I got used to that 60 degrees, I was pushing the 10-minute mark because once you get past that initial 30 seconds to a minute, it's pretty easy to stay in there at that temperature, in my opinion, at least in my experience. So then, um, anyways, I finally got my chiller, got it installed, and was able to start chilling, and I got it down to 55, and now I'm down to 50. And then the last probably 10 days or so, I've been at a solid 44, 45 degrees. How cold should you go? There's not proven. Essentially, you want to go something that's like uncomfortable for you, but that you feel safe being in. Um, that's kind of what they say. And then you want to be in there, in my opinion, I think 4 to 5 minutes is like that perfect threshold. But if you're just getting started, it could be less than that. I don't think there's any benefit to going more than that. I think if you're going more than that, maybe cool the water down a little bit more, because right now at 45 degrees, to stay in there for 4 minutes, every second I'm in there, I want to get out. So it has that um, the mental side of that as well. Whereas I feel like when I was doing 60 degrees, it was kind of just, it was cold, but I just was thinking while I was in there, like, this isn't that cold. Like it's cold, but it's not, I don't think I'm getting the full benefit if it's that warm, if that makes sense. So anyways, I think finding a temperature that's challenging for you is the way to go. Um, so anyways, like I said, I did it pretty much every day. I've been trying to do it first thing in the morning as well because of um, that alertness and that wake up, right? Like you basically just roll out of bed, you get in that plunge, and as soon as you get out, you get that endorphin rush. You feel clear, your clarity's there. Um, your blood's pumping, like you're ready to kind of start your day. And I think that's been the best. Occasionally, I'll wait depending on when I'm working out and if I can get into that thing right after I work out. I like to do that sometimes, but for the most part, I've been doing it first thing in the morning. Um, they also say it does help with sleep as well. I sleep pretty good. I'm pretty religious about my sleeping habits, so I try to sleep pretty well. So it's hard to say if that's helped me or not. To speak on the other benefits, the biggest thing I would say is how good you feel when you get out. I think that was the biggest thing that like wants makes me want to keep doing it. Is like obviously there's the mental strength of staying in there and challenging yourself and doing something challenging every day, getting in cold water, etc. It's kind of like doing a hard workout. A lot of people ask, like, why would you do that to yourself? It's like, do you work out? They're like, yeah. I'm like, do you get uncomfortable when you work out? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, it's kind of the same idea, right? You're getting the health benefits from it. Um, and it's pretty simple to do. You only do it for a few minutes a day. It wakes you up. You feel great when you're done, just like a workout. You feel great when you're done. But it has all the benefits that come with the thing you're doing, like working out or getting in cold water. So that is kind of the idea of why I keep doing it. Boosted metabolism, again, that's hard to say if it is or isn't. I feel good. Inflammation reduction in terms of recovery and that kind of thing. That's one of those things that's hard to pinpoint. I feel like it is. Could be a placebo effect. I don't know. Um, But overall, like I said, I think the biggest thing is mood improvement, clarity, waking you up in the morning. and just making you feel better, right? You're doing something challenging, you feel good about yourself when you're done. Same concept as like working out. That's why I do it. So one of the things too to note, if you guys are ever doing this, I would, like I said, start with cold showers if you're ever thinking about purchasing one of these things. Because if you've never done it before, it is challenging. You don't want to buy it, use it once, whatever. But it's definitely something I'm planning to continue to do. And I really like the aspect of, having to do it daily because it's like a part of my routine now. It's a habit. Even when I don't want to do it, especially now it's getting colder, it's 50, 55 degrees out some mornings. And so getting in cold water when it's that cold, obviously it's going to continue to get colder. And so that's going to be a challenge. We'll see how that goes. We'll keep you guys posted on that. But my next goal too is what I would love to have is a sauna. And there's many different types of saunas out there. I've been doing my research, and it's gonna be the next thing that I'll save up and hopefully purchase if my wife lets me. But the reason I want to do that is there's tons of benefits to hot therapy as well, and contrast therapy, where you're going from hot to cold, hot to cold, hot to cold. So that's kind of my thought process on that, is getting the benefits of hot and cold and contrast therapy, and kind of getting best of both worlds. And I've always loved saunas, and I haven't used one in a long time because I really haven't had direct access to it or convenient access to it. So it'd be nice to have one for sure. So we'll see how that goes. I might build my own. I might invest in one. We'll see, but I'll keep you guys posted on that. So anyways, I hope this answers a lot of questions that people have been asking in terms of why do I cold plunge? What's the purpose behind it? Et cetera, et cetera. But I hope this helps. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast, and I will catch you guys in the next one.